So reverse engineering is really looking from the outside in to understand how an application, a system, or a device works.
Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai. We have another great discussion for you today. We are now focusing on short films and early filmmakers. So today's short film is The Hackavist from 2022, directed by Daniel Kwan.
Quan? I don't know. I never look at who directed this.
I'm by myself in these situations. But yeah, we'll get into it.
But this is a true documentary.
This is a documentary.
And so it's like 25 minutes, 30 minutes again.
Yeah.
But this is truly a documentary, and it's a very probably...
It fits the area we live in.
Sort of,
we live
yeah.
in the Bay Area.
Yeah, we live in the Bay Area.
The tech capital.
Tech and everything. Yeah. But this person that was the main character of this, or the main story person of this, was went to MIT, now lives in Singapore, right?
Yeah, because he's not trying to get caught up with the U.S.
Well, I guess so, but...
Hey.
So the whole story of this is that he was at MIT. He was really into technology. They kind of go into his backstory with his parents and stuff.
Which I liked.
It was cool.
Yeah,
I think that was a good way to kind of like show why he was like, he does what he does.
Yeah, so dedicated to it.
Yeah, so he's at MIT. His professor gives him a project of basically like, hey, here's these new things called the Microsoft Xbox. It's a video game system, if you don't know. And he was like, just do whatever you want with it. And so his first thing was to take it apart and then figure something out where he was able to figure out how the code worked on the Xbox. But he says that like he kind of goes into in explaining it is that there's like a chip on the motherboard or the board that is almost like encrypted to show. And he was saying that it was like giving outputs that were completely fake. And so he figured out where the correct output was, and he figured out what they called ROMs. And I have no clue what ROMs are and stuff, but I think it's like more of like how they allow a video game to be played on the system, and it can authorize that it's a correct video game and stuff. So once... The issue was mostly in this whole story was that once you kind of give access to the ROM, you can adjust it and start pirating video games and play it on that Xbox. So essentially, he modded the Xbox or was able to figure out how to mod the Xbox.
But that wasn't his intent, though, which was what the main focus, most of the main focus of this documentary was. Hey, I was just doing my assignment and I happened to figure out this hole that Microsoft had. And I did like the fact that they started off the short documentary with the call from Microsoft. Of like, hey, we noticed this. Yeah. Take it down. And they were like super nice about it.
Yeah.
Hey, take it down, please.
And what I liked most about it too was that he approaches a professor at MIT that he trusted. And what it showed was that the education system, or primarily the professors in general, understand, hey, this guy was doing it for an academic reason or just a curiosity reason. Yeah. And so they wanted to support him. And so they contacted almost like a legal team and was able to kind of explain the situation and say, we want to help this individual not get sued to their teeth by Microsoft.
Like, where things got gray is when he uploaded the information to the internet.
I think so.
I think I would be more interested in seeing something similar for AI. Now that AI is like the hot topic, seeing who kind of originated hey, let's see what artificial intelligence can do. Because we've seen plenty of movies that Hollywood created of like, if we have AI for the world, we're screwed. But would love for people that are a lot smarter than us
Mm-hmm.
that understand, like truly understand AI, to kind of break that down, and then to see how things were ping-ponged between different universities and different tech companies, and how AI is now like everywhere.
Yeah. But I think the whole main point of his kind of like exodus of, or like being able to like, it's showing individuals that like it's not smart people or highly intelligent people that can figure out what your devices do. Any Joe Schmo sitting on this couch should be able to have the knowledge to break down the item
Yeah.
and fix it themselves, understand it themselves, understand that there's nothing going on wrong with it. And I think what came about with this, and we see it a lot with the Apple products, is that there's now laws and regulations that allow the general public to work on these products themselves, the right to repair.
Yeah, because when we were younger, it was like if you touched a certain screw
Yeah.
from an Xbox or a PlayStation, it was like, oh, nope.
Yeah, it was almost
Warranty's
like
done,
what's
like-
that thing on your mattress? If you tear that tag off, it's like the
Warranty's
freaking
done.
military will come and like destroy you or something. So yeah, I actually found that as like the most enjoyable thing too, because there's a portion where they transition to almost having a Zoom call with this character's or this person's parents, and explaining like, oh, the parents had like this computer, and then they like the kid like broke it apart and like looked into it and couldn't put it back together, so he was like afraid of like what was gonna happen and stuff, and so but they also fostered like, hey, like use this thing as a tool.
Yeah, to figure out and learn.
Figure out and learn. You can also use as entertainment, because he was also like, hey, this like Mac 2 or this Apple 2 also plays video games, which is like, yeah, like who doesn't want to play video games?
But that's the crazy part is like they put a decent amount of money in that.
Probably.
So I wonder if that was their main focus of like, hey, the talking head interview portion is just going to be like someone talking, great, but we're also going to have this side of this short documentary film where we have animations from the times. Like Mac 2 would have been like an 8-bit look.
True, yeah.
And so let's add that or include that in this.
Another thing that we typically want to talk about is color grading and lighting. We kind of already kind of talked about where it's like the lighting in the documentary. It's like Netflix does have like this whole thing that they want to put like shadows
moody
over
as
everything.
possible.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because a lot of times their documentaries are people like murdering other people.
99% of the time, that's what it is. So they need that mood.
But this is more of like almost like a Dateline kind of like documentary.
It's like a 60-minute type of situation.
Yeah, so it's like everything's like super well lit and everything, to the point where it's like you don't see any shadows anywhere basically.
No
like
contrast. It's just like, oh, there's a person there.
the talking head.
And the one aerial shot where they open, that's probably where they're like, yo, we need a drone for this random boat.
Borrow some kid's drone for that moment.
Voiceover.
What we want to talk about is the story potential, and then whether or not this short film can kind of transition into a feature-length film, kind of expand the story into a story that's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I feel like it's very difficult for this documentary. I don't probably need to see more. Like, I guess you can kind of go more into like modding other things if you want to dive deeper into that modding aspect of the world of that.
I think I'm going to go back to what I had said previously about the AI. I think it would be cool if they keep, they have specific shorts, documentaries based on certain like aspects of things. Like this was hacking of the Xbox and how that started. But then even maybe potentially following Bunnie, who's the main character of this, a little bit further, or just being like, nah, let's talk about a totally different topic. Let's talk about AI or coding or something else.
Or the security aspects of like he kind of goes into, it's a very brushed over story that there was like this journalist that got like murdered because they put some malicious code on her phone. And it was like, they like sent a bunch of rockets to like where she was like supposed to be pinging. Like, I was like, we could have had a little bit more of that story. Like, I think maybe like little episodic ones. Maybe they did, maybe they have and everything. But yeah, I think kind of focusing on some of the other subjects that he's like making his own phone too. Like he's engineering a totally new phone.
He had it in
I
his
looked it
hand
up
and
and I
was
was like, I
like,
want to buy this thing. That looks cool and everything. But
it said 2022, but
I don't know. That was during the pandemic and everything. So
that was a weird time.
A lot of things were kind of pushed away like down the road. But yeah, I do think in terms of this whole story, maybe this is like the best way to kind of convey it in a documentary style. But there's other documentaries that can be told from this story too.
Definitely.
All right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah, thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week for another one.